Good morning and welcome to today's commemoration service for Remembrance Day 2023. In just a few moments we'll begin with the arrival of the Governor's representatives, so it's now appropriate for those of you who have a seat to start making your way to your allocated area, and for everybody else, if you are enjoying the refreshment across the road, perhaps it's time to start walking across the street and making your way over here for today's commemoration service. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please be upstanding if possible, if you're able to, for the arrival of the Honorary Aide-de-Camp, Lieutenant Commander Nicholas Robinson, representing Her Excellency the Honourable Dr. Jeanette Young, Governor of Queensland. Please remain standing as the catafalque party today, prepared for us by 7 CSR, mounts the shrine. Thank you, and please be seated. Welcome to the 2023 commemoration for Remembrance Day here in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. We welcome people who are watching us via the live stream on the RSL YouTube site at the moment, and it's being seen, we believe, in many different countries where we have Queensland expats that are tuning into this particular ceremony because it is so significant for them. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the air, land and water on where we gather here in Brisbane today, the Turrbal and Yagara people, their elders past, present, emerging, and also people of all First Nations heritage and Torres Strait Islanders. In fact, all people of all faiths, beliefs and cultures. Thank you for joining us here today. It is a very significant ceremony for the people of Queensland and the people of Australia. I'd like to welcome Lieutenant Commander Nicholas Robinson, representing Her Excellency here today, the Honourable Stephen Miles MP, the Acting Premier of Queensland, Shadow Minister David Crisafulli MP, Leader of the Opposition, Adrian Schrinner, the Lord Mayor of Brisbane, and his wife Nina Schrinner, the Head of the Consular Corps for Queensland, Mr Michael Hovarth, Auntie Lorraine Hatton, who is the Indigenous Elder for the Australian Army, who has joined us here today as well. Thank you for coming into Brisbane today. We know that the weather in some parts of Brisbane today has been quite unpleasant. At one stage, the rain was so heavy on the south side that you couldn't see the city buildings. So for the fact that it's cleared away today has been very significant for us. We also have some seating down on the grassed area down in ANZAC Square. So if you do feel that it's getting a little bit long for you to be able to stand here today, there are some extra seats and there is a video display down there as well, so you are able to move around. It's 105 years since the guns finally fell silent on the Western Front in Europe. It ended the Great War. We now carry on that tradition of honouring the sacrifice that was given by so many Australians and by so many people around the world. It is great to see so many veterans here today displaying their medals and displaying their various honours and awards. It's also wonderful to see the families here today, and in particular, the young children. because they will be the ones that will now continue this legacy. They will be the ones that will continue to honour the tradition. And it's been significant because just this week alone, in the schools around Brisbane, there have been 190 primary schools that have participated in commemoration services. That's 8,500 young students that are very much now aware of the ANZAC traditions and the significance of Remembrance Day. Shortly we'll be joined by Thomas Eccleston and Narendra Ahmadi. They're recipients of the 2023 Premier's ANZAC Prize. We'll hear from them shortly, and they have an amazing story to tell about their opportunity to investigate and to look into the battlefields of Europe. I'd now like to invite the RSL Queensland State President, Major General Stephen Day, to make his Remembrance Day address.
It is my honour, on behalf of all veterans, to offer a few words this morning in the presence of some of our most important citizens. In war, everyone who serves gives something. Some give everything. Today, we pause to remember those who gave everything, our fallen. Sometimes our losses have been unimaginably painful. At the end of the Great War, around 10% of the Australian adult male population was either killed or wounded. No family, no community was untouched. And yet, as the years go by, sometimes it's not easy to work out how best we might remember and honour their sacrifice. Of course, in every town and city we have memorials, like the splendid one here today. But there is another memorial, one just as important, us and how we live our lives, the memorial that our fallen would wish for. Great countries are great, not because of their size or their wealth, but because of their character, their national character, our character. I like to think that all of our fallen are able to look down upon us and say, we did not die in vain. Our sons and daughters have made a great thing of the land and opportunity we fought to preserve for them. We can, if we choose to, commit to make the best of the opportunity of life that we have and to continue to build a country, our Australia, that is a reputation for anyone that cares to notice, for freedom, for fair go, respect for all peoples, and honest hard work. That, I believe, would be a good way for us to remember them, to honour our fallen.
Thank you, Major General. I'd now like to introduce Thomas Eccleston and Narendra Ahmadi. They are the recipients of the 2023 Premier's Prize for ANZAC. Thomas and Narendra have completed some very intensive study looking at the origins of ANZAC Day, looking towards our troops that went away in World War I. They've also done some research projects into modern conflicts and the impacts that that has had on veterans today. The culmination of their study tour was 16 days across the western battlefields of Europe. I'm told it had a very significant impact on them, because it wasn't just about military history, but it was a journey of understanding, about understanding the spirit of Australia. To share some of their experiences with us and to talk about the resilience and courage and the initiative of the Premier's Prize, I'd like to ask Thomas and Nuria to come forward now.
Good morning, distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. Today, I have the privilege to briefly speak about my research and experiences on the 2023 Premier's ANZAC Prize for the UK and Europe, which included visits to the battlefields and war cemeteries of the Western Front. As a part of the prize, we researched and commemorated 2 service people who fought during World War I and one other conflict. It was very special to be able to research and commemorate my great-granduncle, Albert Joseph O'Leary, whose medals I have the honour of wearing today, on the very ground on which he and so many others fought and fell. Albert came from a small New South Wales country town called Kempsey. Trained as a signaller, he arrived on the Western Front on the 27th of November 1916, however was killed just 7 months later at La Poterie Farm near Mézières in Belgium. Whilst he has no known grave, I was fortunate enough to give a eulogy to him near where he was killed at Prowse Point Military Cemetery. Next to a photo of him in his uniform, I left a poppy and a small cross, decorated by students from my primary school, Pullen Vale State School. This Remembrance Day, may my great-granduncle rest in peace, and may his service and sacrifice, and that of all the thousands of other Australian service people who have paid the ultimate price serving their country, always be remembered. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my research and experiences on the Premier's ANZAC Prize Tour today. Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas. Thank you, Thomas. One of the ongoing traditions of Remembrance Day is the wearing of a red poppy. It's significant because we're told that after all the carnage and the way the ground had been turned over so significantly after the artillery bombardments, that the only thing that grew was the beautiful red poppy. And the soldiers took it as a symbol of the sacrifice and of the hope of new life and rebirth. That there is some beauty at the end of that terrible, muddy conflict that they were going through and enduring at the time. There was a poem that was written that has become synonymous with Remembrance Day. It's called In Flanders Fields. Today I'd like to invite Nuria to recite those words and ask us to pause, perhaps close your eyes even, and listen to the beautiful words of this poem.
In Flanders field the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly. Scars heard amid the guns below, we are dead short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in the Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high, if ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, through poppies grow in the Flanders fields.
Thank you, Thomas and Nuria. The Royal Australian Navy Band Queensland are here with us today, and accompanied by able seaman Mark Jozenovich, who'll lead us now through the hymn of Vow to Thee, My Country.
I vow to thee, my country, all earthly things above, entire and whole and perfect, the service
At this level of the shrine, you look out and there are many, many faces in the crowd here today. It's wonderful that so many people could join us. But while you're up here, you lose sometimes the scope. Down below in the gardens, on the grassed areas here of ANZAC Square, there's lots and lots of people down there. There are people that have just stopped their shopping adventures for the day, have maybe just got off a bus, maybe caught a train in and have heard the significance of what's going on here today and have paused to stop, reflect and remember. Thank you all for joining us. The lines of the ANZAC Square, the walkways, the footpaths are all lined with people. It shows that today has not lost its significance on Australians. One of our time-honoured traditions is the laying of floral wreaths and tributes here at the Shrine of Remembrance. I'll ask our invited guests to come forward shortly to step into the shrine and lay their wreaths at the base of the eternal flame and then return to their seats. After that, our various service organisations will come forward and they will lay their wreaths here at the foot of the shrine on the steps. I'll guide you through that process and we will pause, of course, at exactly 11 o'clock for the last post and the very significant components of our ceremony today. The Honorary Aide-de-Camp, Lieutenant Commander Nicholas Robertson, representing the Governor of Queensland, will you please come forward and lay your wreath? Acting Premier of Queensland, the Honourable Stephen Miles MP. RSL Queensland State President Major General Stephen Day, accompanied by Thomas Eccleston and Noura Amadi. Leader of the Opposition, Mr David Crisafulli, MP. The Right Honourable Adrian Schrinner, Lord Mayor of Brisbane, and Lady Mayoress Nina Schrinner. Federal Member for Brisbane, Mr Stephen Bates, MP. Representing current members of the Australian Defence Force, Commander Fiona Southwood, representing the Royal Australian Navy, Brigadier Michael Say, representing the Australian Army, Group Captain Dennis Tan, representing the Royal Australian Air Force. Dean of the Consular Corps, Mr Michael Horvath, representing the Consular Corps in the state of Queensland. Representing Queensland's Frontline Emergency Services, Inspector Michelle Pickett, representing the Queensland Police Service, Assistant Commissioner Tony Armstrong, representing the Queensland Ambulance Service, and Acting Commissioner Stephen Smith, representing the Queensland Fire and Emergency Services. We will now respectfully pause the wreath-laying component of our service today as we observe the minute's silence in commemoration. If you are able, would you please stand for the ode to be recited by RSL Queensland State President, Major General Stephen Day.
They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end, against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
Thank you for observing a minute's sacred silence on behalf of those we have lost in conflict. For those of you who have a seat, please resume your seats now. We will continue with the wreath laying. I'd like to call forward Deputy Commissioner Queensland, Tara Hatzamalis, representing the Department of Veterans Affairs. Commissioner James Douglas KC, representing the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide. I'd like to ask the following service organisations to come forward and lay their wreaths on the stairs of the shrine here, and come forward in pairs, please. Mr Mark Stenig, representing the Australian Commando Association Queensland, Mr Mike Harris and Teresa Pockort, representing the Australian American Association. Mr Tony Young, representing the Australian SAS Association Queensland, Mr Peter Jones, representing the Australian Veterans and Defence Services Council. Mrs Judy Smith, representing Australian War Widows Queensland, Mr Kevin Spink, representing the British Ex-Services Association Queensland. Mrs Judy Pruitt, representing the Council of Ex-Servicemen's Associations Queensland, and retired Major Walter Baldo, representing the Defence Force Welfare Association Queensland. Mr Rudy Bianchi, representing the Far East Strategic Reserve Association, Mr Paul Powell, representing Legacy Brisbane. Mr Alex Garland, representing the National Servicemen's Association of Australia, Ms Margaret Dean, representing the Naval Association of Australia. Bernie Franklin, representing Navy Women Queensland, Mr Robert Nimmo, representing Open Arms. Mr Quinton Mason, representing the Queensland Veterans Council, and retired Lieutenant Colonel Philip Bourne, representing the Royal Marines Association Queensland. Mr Lawrence Watts, representing the Australian Light Horse Association, Mr Gordon Kratzman, representing the Sappers Association Queensland. Mr Ray Guys, representing TOC H Australia Northern Region, Sergeant Greg Ivey, representing PIB, NGIB, HQ PIR Association. Our final two wreath layers in the official part of our ceremony this morning, Mr Darryl Ship, representing the Vietnam Veterans Association of Australia, Mr Peter Handy, representing the Vietnam Veterans Federation of Australia, Queensland branch. Thank you to everyone for paying tribute to those who have served, those who have suffered as a result of their service, or those who fell during their service, and marking that today in this commemoration. I'd like to invite Chaplain Peter Devenish-Mears to lead us in prayer in memories of those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice.
In a spirit of unity with people of all faiths and traditions and cultures, let us pray. Gracious God, we are gathered here this day at this hour to remember those who have given their lives in the service of their country, and especially all who made the supreme sacrifice. They gave everything. We too pray today for those who serve or still serve our nation in every theatre, on operations and in every locality. May they be blessed in their service always. we hold in our hearts and pray for those who suffer as a result of their service. May we all who pass this way recall forever with gratitude the sacrifice of those who have gone before us and who have helped keep our nation safe and free. And we make this prayer confidently through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. For those who are able, could you please be upstanding for the Australian National Anthem performed for us today by the Royal Australian Navy Band, Queensland.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every sage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Please remain standing as the catafalque party dismounts the shrine.
Catafalque party, inwards, turn. Catafalque party, quick, march.
Please remain standing for the departure of Lieutenant Commander Nicholas Robinson, representing the Governor of Queensland. Thank you, and please take your seats. That concludes today's 2023 Remembrance Day service here in Brisbane. Thank you all for coming out, for taking time out of a busy schedule on a weekend. There are so many different commitments that families are drawn to these days. It's wonderful that you can pause and reflect and honour the service and sacrifice and those who have suffered as a result of their service. To acknowledge that today is quite significant. Please do not rush away once the service is complete. For those that have brought small children in today, we encourage you to come forward to the shrine, take some photos with the wreaths, take some photos with the eternal flame, share those amongst your friends, tell the children the significance of what today means. It is very important that they continue this legacy for generations to come, and it's only by us sharing the knowledge that we can continue to do that. At the conclusion, I'd like to ask people that do have their own personal wreaths or tributes that they'd like to leave, they can come forward and leave them on the stairs of the shrine here as well. It's very significant that the RSL stages these events, but also what is significant today is that two of our significant military leaders in this city, it will be their last Remembrance Day service here with us today. Brigadier Michael Say is moving to further appointment in Canberra, and Commander Fiona Southwood is also moving to another posting in Canberra. Thank you very much both for your attendance at these particular ceremonies, and thank you for your service to our country. Our catafalque party today has been provided by the 7th Combat Signal Regiment. Fantastic performance. If you do get the opportunity, please drop in and have a photo with the guys and girls before they depart. They'd be more than happy to do that. And of course, the Royal Australian Navy Band, Queensland, thank you very much for your musical accompaniment today. On behalf of RSL Queensland, it's been a pleasure and an honour to have you all here today. My name is Darren Curtis. I've been your Master of Ceremonies today. Please do not rush away. Enjoy the hospitality of being in each other's company. Tell some stories, tell some worries, take some photos. And of course, if you need a light refreshment, there's a place just nearby. Thank you very much for being here today at 2023 Remembrance Day service. Ladies and gentlemen, as you depart, could you just be aware that Ann Street will resume traffic operations shortly, so please be very mindful that cars will be starting to come down Ann Street very shortly. We just want to make sure that you all get home safely. Thank you very much.